What's going on, everyone? So we had the little teaser trailer for the upcoming episode 4 of season 3, and then there also was kind of, one of those behind the scenes cast and crew interviews where they kind of gave us a little insight. But one of the things that I thought was very interesting about that was one of the showrunners saying that a lot of the characters that we love are not going to make it beyond season 3. And didn't give us details as to which characters that were. We also don't know when this was filmed and how this was filmed. It could have very well been filmed before the season began, because you think like Tien ended up meeting her end in this season, right? Opening episode of this season. And, it begs the question of, okay, well, is that it? Are there going to be more? What do they classify as beloved characters, right? Like, I don't see characters like Boyd meeting their end. Donna, I don't think would meet her end. Maybe the last episode, but really I think like the main core characters I think will survive. Obviously like Victor, Tabitha, Boyd, Jade, the characters that they're clearly still setting up and building story for, I don't think will meet their end. Now, again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I thought that, again, this was incredibly interesting that they kind of gave us that insight of like, hey, expect characters to die. Again, it could end with Tien, for all we know. And that could have been what they were referencing. But I want to kind of talk about and explore some of the characters that I believe could potentially die. And then, of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. So, right off the bat, as I mentioned a moment ago, what do they classify as, like beloved characters, right? Because Henry, Victor's dad, I think is probably going to die. It looks like he may die in this next episode. Even if he doesn't die in this next episode, my guess is he dies at some point, right? I don't necessarily see him staying alive. I just think that that's kind of what it feels like the direction of this is going. However, you never really know, but I could see, Tien dying. That's the mother, Kenny, having the father of Victor end up dying and maybe causing some issues with Victor, and maybe Victor starts spiraling and we find out some more details and some information, right? Maybe Tabitha, if there seems to be a connection with Henry and Miranda in particular, right? Does that cause some fallout for her? Does she feel responsible because she feels like, we got in the car wreck because I, freaked out and didn't believe that I was in this real world. I was actually in the From world, right? Like, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of explore Henry's death kind of having an impact on Tabitha, obviously having an impact on Victor, where Victor, I'm sure he doesn't know whether his dad was alive or dead at this point, right? Obviously his dad wasn't in FROMVILLE, but with Victor's age and his father's age, for all he knows, he could have died years ago. And then to have him come back and maybe not even share a real moment together, that could be incredibly impactful, right? Maybe they also don't even tell him that it's his dad, right? I mean, Victor hasn't seen his dad in 30 plus years. Who knows if he even recognizes him as his dad or anything, right? But we'll see in that regard. Henry, if they classify that, I think he dies regardless, but is that what is classified as, like, a character that we've fallen in love with, that is beloved? I really do believe that we're probably going to see Christy meet her end at some point. Kind of felt like the previous episode was really setting that up, with her kind of being, having the leg issue, being caught in the bear trap, and then on top of that, kind of giving that speech to Kenny. It kind of felt like foreshadowing of her death, like, just know you're never going to be alone no matter what. And then Jade pulling apart one of the statues kind of feels like they're building up and setting up to the people that are in that cabin are probably going to meet their, not all of them, because I don't see them killing Jade and Kenny and Christy all in one swoop. So I do think you're probably going to get the casualties of, like, was Dale and then some of the other characters that are kind of just the background characters. I think some of them die, and I could see them having that impactful death in Christy that kind of has that resounding effect, especially on Kenny. Right? They really seem to be focusing on trying to break down Kenny here, and now they in the same like little trailer. The actor that plays Kenny, they talk about like how he talks about how Kenny's kind of seeing the landscape here and how things are kind of shaping up, and feels like he really needs to step up to kind of help the town. So if he loses Christy, does that make him kind of go into full like almost work mode where it's like I gotta stay focused, I gotta keep moving along rather than dwelling on it, right? Does he kind of just, it doesn't even really impact him much, right? Maybe on the inside, but he just like you focus on the work, you focus on everything else but the issue, or does it completely break him and he really starts to crumble, right? That could be a real possibility. Again, the way that it was talked about was as if it's going to be significant impact characters. Like, it's not just going to be the red-shirted characters that are just there for design and to ultimately die. It feels like there's going to be a couple significant characters. I think Christy could be one that would make sense. You got this new ambulance, maybe one of the nurses there ends up surviving, and then based on the little teaser, you see that the cop ends up surviving, female cop, and then also you have Marielle, who she is a nurse. She knows some stuff, not to the level of Christy because she's a pediatric nurse, but still, like, she has some insight. So you kind of justify killing Christy, have the impact, but still people could still get the medical help that they need. Just kind of a thought. Now, you could have some of the characters that were on the bus that ultimately, you start killing off some of them, right? Like Tilly, for example, using the tarot cards and stuff, and there clearly was the FROMVILLE not really taking too kindly to that, right? Like, they didn't seem too happy with that, with the crow scene. So do they maybe kind of use that as a way to, like, hey, let me take out Tilly, right? So she stops dabbling in that and kind of just get rid of the problem. Also Marielle, right? Like, could she end up dying, and maybe that impacts and affects Christy in a certain way that maybe kind of trickles down into even Kenny, right? And you kind of have this kind of snowball effect. Randall, you see him surrounded and ends up hitting the ground at one point while the monsters are kind of surrounding him, right? You could potentially kill him off. You got Bakta, who was the bus driver. Maybe G meets the end, right? There's several characters that they've been building since the bus that maybe you kill off 2 or 3 of those. I don't see a scenario where they kill off any of the big supporting character or the main characters, or even some of the key supporting characters. Said anyone that kind of seems like they have a story being continued, I just don't see meeting their end. But again, Randall has kind of just been, he's just kind of been a background character, but like a supporting background character, right? Like, I could see maybe him potentially meeting his end in an impactful way. And then could they kind of go, the Fatima Ellis route, right? Like, I don't think that they'd kill Elgin, just because there's clearly buildup with him, and they're clearly continuing to tell a story with him. However, Fatima kind of is falling apart here. She has this baby inside of her that may or may not be evil. Do we get to a point where maybe she ends up dying or starting to decay, or maybe she just kind of goes dark side and takes out Ellis, right? Or does Ellis die and then that impacts Fatima, because now not only is she growing this child, but she's also grieving and dealing with the loss of Ellis, right? That could be something in which they kind of use. No, I don't think that they, like, I don't think that they would kill Fatima because, again, clearly they're still building her. Obviously, we don't know how much it gets expedited between now and the end of the season. You still got, 7 episodes left? So you can unpack and do a lot in that time. But my guess is that Fatima probably lives. I think if any of the two were going to die, at least right now, it would be Ellis. Fatima, I could see dying at some point, but more likely after the childbirth, or maybe she takes herself, right? And you got to be careful how I phrase that because it's YouTube, but, you get what I'm getting at. Maybe she, takes herself to the garden. That way she can, not have to deal with the baby and all the evil, or maybe she does find out it's evil and decides like, I need to end this now because Ellis isn't gonna be okay. Like, Ellis isn't gonna kill me. Like, and now she's having this struggle. I can see one, if not maybe two characters, like significant characters, potentially meeting their end. I think like I said, the main core characters I don't see dying. Like, another one is like Jim. Could Jim maybe meet his end at some point and kind of complicate things, especially since Tabitha got out? It's kind of like, oh, you wanted to leave, so here's the revenge factor. I don't think that they'll kill the main family, right? Like, I don't think Jim, Tabitha, Ethan, or Julie. Now there was a scene, it is worth mentioning. There was a scene with Julie where it looks like she's, potentially dying. She gets an injury. Would they really kill her? I mean, maybe. The thing is, there's just so many characters that, that there's so many options and possibilities. But as always, I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that any of the core characters die? Who would you, give me a list of 3 in order of most likely to least likely that you think could potentially die, that could potentially meet in it. Like core characters, right? Not like the random, character in the background. Like, Flower Girl 3. Like, no, like give me some, characters like Ellis or, again, Randy, guys like that. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.